All right, welcome to a whole new episode of the Central Florida High School Scoreboard Show. I'm Dan LaForest, and that is not Baylin Trujillo. That is Andy Villamarzo from SBLive. Andy, welcome back to the show, man.
Dan, thank you for having me.
So Baylin is running a little bit late, but we're going to go ahead and get started. I know you've got a lot to do tonight. Tomorrow's Turkey Day. We want to wish everybody a happy and safe Thanksgiving, but we got Friday night football, and we're going to talk about that. Andy, how about you and I get into last week's games, talk about some of the big matchups? We're now in the regional championships.
Yeah, a lot of great games last week. A lot of great games on tap for this regional final round here, all around the state. I'm ready to get into it.
All right, man. Let's get started. All right, let's start with 1S, Region 2. Melbourne Central Catholic takes care of Halifax Academy out of Daytona, 37-0.
Yeah, I feel like that was kind of a expected result there. I mean, anytime you got a stud like Victorious Farmer on your team to kind of run around, catch passes, score touchdowns, I mean, the Hustlers, they've been doing it. So on to the regional final against Trinity Catholic there.
All right. Now, speaking of Trinity Catholic, they take care of Holy Trinity out of Melbourne, 55-7.
Man, what a thumping. That is a result to me that was kind of surprising just because for me, I got to see Trinity Catholic at the beginning of the season against CCC. That was their first game. They just came off having a game postponed against FSU High, and they didn't really muster up too much offense in that game. But anytime you got a team coached by John Brantley, you know you got a fundamentally sound group of guys on both sides of the ball. Defensively, you know you got very fast unit. Good secondary, just the offense. So 55 points against this, and kind of slowing down this, Holy Trinity offense. I know Brogan McNabb over there has really had a nice season, and just to hold them to 7 points, Dan, that's just an impressive stat.
No, I think the more impressive thing is the fact that Trinity Catholic, there was so many questions about that team with their schedule and really they were not one of the highest ranked teams coming in, but like you said, John Brantley's done an amazing job. All right, and welcome to the show, Baylin Trujillo. We're going to move right on to 1M Region 1, where we had University Christian out of Jax play Trinity Christian. Trinity Christian wins that game 28-22, Andy.
Yeah, and you would actually think Colin Hurley was the star just because, LSU commitment, just you get 4 touchdowns on the board, but it was Cam Anderson and Darnell Rogers doing the damage. Both of them going over 100 yards. They Conquerors going to the ground game against the Christians, being able to pull off that win. But if they want to get past the regional round, which we're going to talk about, Orlando Christian Prep, going to need Hurley in that passing game to really start humming. So, but nice win by Trinity Christian.
Absolutely. Baylin, OCP hosted Providence out of Jacksonville at Showalter Field. OCP walks away 28-25.
Yeah, according to Cameron Curzon, the quarterback there, who I trained this past weekend, it could have been, a easier win because this looks like a pretty tight matchup here. But they controlled the game. If we rewatch the tape, which I saw a little bit of huddle stuff, they controlled this game. Yes, Providence is a good football team, but OCP is the real deal. And at the end of the day, I'm glad that OCP, found a way to get through this round because next round it ends. Their season ends. Their historical season, or whatever you want to call it, ends next week. Or this Friday night. So, but great job for OCP getting a playoff win, and only has 1 loss on the year. But look for number 2 this Friday.
No, I absolutely agree. And we're going to talk about that matchup here later in the show. All right, 2S Region 2, Bradford, who, Andy, they've had an amazing season. They take care of business with the East Side out of Gainesville, 28-7.
Yeah, and Jamie Rogers just keeps racking up the wins. The Tornadoes, just you knew about that defense last year, just really stifling people, compiling all these shutouts. And then once again, I mean, nearly another shutout against the Rams and, a really good matchup coming up here against Baker County.
Yeah, and Baylin, we're still talking about this region because this thing's going to be coming out on the other end, and it's going to be very important because we've got some Central Florida teams that are end up getting in the showdown. But Andy, Yulee has had one heck of a season. Yulee, for those that don't even know where Yulee is, it is right there at the Georgia-Florida border, and that's where Derrick Henry played ball. They take care of Baker County 32-14, but Andy.
Yeah, and the Wildcats do a lot via the ground game. I mean, I know Benny Lewis has been a bit integral part of their offense, just running the ball. Yulee, quarterbacked by Nikhil Smith, who led Ware County out of Georgia last year to a state championship. Season ends at his original school that he was at to start off his high school career, Baker County against Bradford. It's going to be a good game.
All right, that puts us right into 2S Region 3 in Baylin. Cocoa takes care of Denellen 35-0.
Yeah, it's been 2 weeks, 2 games, and no points for the opponent against Cocoa. Those guys keep rolling, and Brady Hart and company keep rolling themselves. I love what obviously Snyder is doing in Franco. They got a formula to win, and in this postseason, that's when it matters the most. Yeah, we can talk about how great their season is, their strength of schedule, winning pretty much every game on their schedule. They did win every game on their schedule, asterisk, but this team is for real. And unfortunately, Eustis got a taste of it last round, and now Denellen got completely waxed. So, they're riding a wave. And, this game has happened 3 straight years, South Sumter and Cocoa. I mean, they've seen each other 3 straight years in this matchup, and Cocoa continues to win this matchup. And this will be the 3rd year. So I look for it to be a three-peat. But Cocoa just continues to roll, and they have arguably 2 of the best players in both positions, maybe 3. No one's talking about their running back / D tackle or D end. That kid's a freak too. He's a elite talent, 5-star, I believe. Got every offer in the country. You name it. So Cocoa is probably arguably the best quarterback right now in the entire playoffs, all classifications, and Brady Hart. Then you got Javon Boggs, who I believe I've seen in person is the best receiver other than Jeremiah Smith down south. He's definitely up there. And then the kid that plays DN. So look for Cocoa to continue to roll. And it would be crazy to say this, Dan, but I believe going into the championship game, they might not give up a single point.
Yeah, no, and we're going to talk about that Cocoa South Sumter matchup here later on the show. But South Sumter takes care of Titusville. And let me tell you something, Andy. Titusville Terriers, Coach John Holmes has done an amazing job with them. They have had a magical season. And all I have to say is congratulations to the Terriers. But they fall to South Sumter 44-7.
Yeah, and you got to, and I know this is going to be a tough matchup for South Sumter going over to the east side against Cocoa, but you look at the way they were able to kind of dominate in this game, 44-7 against the Terriers. Obviously, a long way to go over to Bushnell. Tough place to win at, suburban town where, the whole town comes out. Ty Lawrence does a great job with the Raiders every season, and they have a myriad of guys that run the football, led by Malachi Boone, who's now doing it on both sides of the ball. He's their top linebacker, and now he's playing offense. So, Cocoa is the favorite, no doubt. And South Sumter, I just believe they're gonna come into that game really just trying to make that a game as much as they can.
Yeah, well, again, we're going to talk about it in a little bit more detail. Let's go on to 2M Region 1. And Jacksonville Reigns takes care of Bowles takes care of the number 1 seed Jackson Reigns 14-7.
Yeah, that was I don't know, surprising. Just more, you got to speak to Bowles' championship pedigree over the years. Coach Tobin is obviously hasn't been able to win the state championship, as many times as his predecessor there, Corky Rogers, the legend, the late Corky Rogers. But they feel like they've got a shot. And last year they weren't far off from American Heritage, and they got a lot of the same pieces. So 14-7 against a tough Reigns team. I don't think this is totally unexpected.
Baylin, you and I were texting each other on Friday night on different sidelines, but Bishop Moore was ahead of Riverside the majority of that game and kind of gave up some ground there at the end, but they take care of it. 37-35, they move on against Riverside.
Yeah, man, they're rolling. I think it was 9 straight games they've won, or 8 straight games since they started off 0-3. Again, everybody written them off, and now they're finding themselves in the Elite 8. So great job to Bishop Moore and what they're doing over there. Bjorn Jensen, he's probably the key piece to all of this. Bishop Moore's not used to running the spread. They're not used to throwing the ball around. They're used to just ground and pound and use single wing stuff. But now they got a guy that can sling it. So this is the results. And I always believed they always had talent. I think that if they just went to spread earlier on, that you might have seen Bishop Moore in the playoffs a lot more than what we've seen before in the past. So I know Coach Hedrick, he had a great, stint there and is doing great things. But Bishop Moore with Bjorn Jensen, that was such a big piece to that whole puzzle right there coming in as a transfer. So Bishop Moore, great job to them. They find themselves, playing in a regional final. So, I mean, what more can you say about a team that's probably arguably the hottest in Central Florida?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Bjorn Jurgensen hasn't just done it with his arm; he's done it with his legs, like you mentioned. 3S Region 1. Andy, I know you've got some thoughts on this, but St. Augustine takes care of Pensacola-Escambia 31-14.
Yeah, and the Yellow Jackets, since I saw them at the Border Wars up there in Brunswick, Georgia, to me, people have asked, I mean, who's a favorite in this wide open 3S, which I know we have some teams that feel like, hey, we're there. You got a lot of teams that could kind of stake the claim, but St. Augustine to me is one of the most complete teams, and especially offensively, just being able to beat a Escambia team led by Mike Bennett, who we know this guy's been to playoffs many times, been in state championship. That was a gritty win by the Yellow Jackets, and got like a team with Lachlan Hewlett, a Wake Forest commit, just going deeper into the postseason here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, Baylin, I know, we don't cover a lot of North Florida, but Choctawhatchee takes care of Lincoln 38-7. I think this is a big score, and the Big Green Indians going to head over to St. Augustine.
Yeah, I was shocked about this. I like Lincoln and what they're doing. Obviously, they're the higher seed in this matchup, but for them to be dominated the way they were, it's definitely shocking to see. It's definitely one of the upsets, I think, of last week. And I'm surprised, man, but that's a dominating fashion. I think that this could be a problem for St. Augustine. I do agree with Andy. I do believe they're the best team in this region, without question. I think there is a large margin there too as well, but this loss for Lincoln was shocking to me. So you talk about momentum when you win by 31 points in a playoff game, setting yourself up for a 1 seed versus a 3 seed. I love that, and I love the mindset that these guys have, and it's been a blowout every single week for them. So who knows? Maybe they're clicking at the right time. That's why playoffs are played, and that's why you play the game. So this would be an interesting matchup, but I do believe St. Augustine, with their quarterback in Hewlett, that's a special talent, a special group there.
Well, I know that Andy and I have been talking about taking that road trip over to Choctaw too, because we're going to see Coach Frank Beasley over there. But don't underestimate Coach Frank Beasley when they come to town. All right, 2S Region 3, Mainland. I tell you what, this is a little bit closer than people thought, Baylin. Mainland takes care of Rockledge 22-14 and moves on.
Yeah, they did a great job. I mean, they were actually up 14-7, I believe, in the fourth quarter. And I got text messages from people saying Mainland's upset. Of course, they spoke too soon. Mainland scored twice in the fourth quarter to seal the victory to move on. So, I was kind of worried there for a little bit. And, I'm watching the Jones-Edgewater game, getting updates from many different people saying Mainland's going down, Mainland this, Mainland that. And I'm trying to focus on one of the craziest games I've ever been a part of as well. And then to look at the final, it's funny because there was a point where it went radio silent. And so clearly something happened where Mainland obviously won the game. So great job to Mainland. I still believe they are the best team in this entire region. We can argue all day long. You got Lake Wells out there that I'm sure we'll talk about. But, Mainland, from a loaded standpoint, a talent standpoint, there's no reason why they don't walk away with a state championship. I think DJ Murray is the best quarterback playing right now, along with Bryce, who is at Lake Wells, 2 kids I train, not biased at all there. But, they're just playing great football. And Mainland, I just think, Mainland's great teams win. So they find a way to win, and they're 1 seed for a reason. And Rockledge, I mean, shocking the fact they were even in this game because I would have predicted a blowout here. But great job to Mainland. They found a way to get it done, and now they find themselves in the regional final.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations to Coach Wayne Younger and the Rockledge Raiders. Again, outstanding season. But, Andy Sebring goes into late O'Galley. O'Galley's had a heck of a season. Coach Sands and their program, but Sebring walks away 21-12.
Yeah, and I have to take a line from Lee Corso. Not so fast. The Blue Streaks, they're gonna upset some people, and they already have. I mean, obviously, Coach Sands and his group, the Commodores, are now out, and hey, let's not forget this is a Sebring group that went to Clearwater a couple of years ago in a region final, and that's a good probably 3-hour trip. And Clearwater's quarterback at the time, I believe, had about 50 touchdown passes, explosive Tornadoes offense, and they won on a game-winning field goal. So let's not underestimate a LeVar Scott team in the third round in a region final and feel totally just like it's an unexpected deal that they could go into Daytona Beach and win. I think.
No,
this
I
is
agree.
a
I think this
tough
is a
game.
big matchup. We're going to talk about that here later. How about 3M Region 1? Baylin, you were at this game. Jones takes care of Edgewater 28-24.
I'm going to be honest with you. This came down to coaching in the fourth quarter. Elijah Williams, Coach Will, the greatest person that I've ever played under, and one of the best I ever know and will know. He won this game for Jones. Obviously, the kids had to play, but the way that they broke down this game in the fourth quarter, they found themselves down 24-14 with over 8 minutes left in the game. Edgewater just scored. All the momentum is with the Eagles, and all of a sudden, literally a play later, they found themselves in zero coverage. It was actually, I think, man, but the safety jumped the slot guy. They were doubling Vernell the whole game, actually quarters, and he jumped on the slot, and there was a post right behind it, and Darion came in, which, we talk about coaching. You got to understand the difference between Trevor Jackson, who's more run threat, and Darion, who's slinging the ball. And they put Darion in to change things up in the pass game, and his first pass went for an 80-yard touchdown as he got depleted. I didn't even see. I literally watched him. He threw it. I watched him. He got depleted. He's sitting on the ground looking at the ground with his helmet off, and the ball's in the air. Perfectly thrown strike. Touchdown Jones. And from that point on, it was all Jones High School. And they got the ball back. They went down. Trevor scored the game winner from 5 yards out on, I believe, second and goal. And that was pretty much it. And, it's just the coaching is what did this here. And, Coach Duke is a phenomenal coach. Obviously, you don't go undefeated 2 years in a row without being a great coach. But I just believe in that fourth quarter, there was something special along that Jones sideline that really elevated themselves over a team that arguably is the better team. Edgewater, if you want me to be honest with you, this was their year. And they lose, I believe it was anywhere between 13 to 14 seniors that are starters. This is going to hurt them, and this was the year. And I even said it last week, this is Edgewater's year to lose. So they did lose it last week. I still believe they, in my opinion, could have been the better team. But I think Jones, with the talent that they have on paper and with their head coach, that gives them a shot to win any single game. And I'm going to be honest with you, Coach Will told me they're a little banged up. So they're playing with guys that never been playing in position, switching guys in different roles, and they're playing at an elite level. And when you have that with great coaching, you're going to win any game. I don't care who the opponent is. So look for Jones to make a statement. I think this was the state championship for a lot of people. They believe that the team that got out of this game would at least represent Central Florida, and I believe Jones did a great job of that.
Yeah, and Andy, I think this is a shame. I think, the fact that Edgewater and Jones have to meet so early, you're eliminating one really, really good team early on this playoff. But Andy, hey, I know you're a West Coast guy. How about Armwood falling to Tampa Bay Tech? This was a rematch from a few weeks ago.
Yeah, 51-34, and this is quickly becoming Hillsborough County's must-see game of the year. This is one where you see it, you're marking it on the calendar and saying, got to be there, because you're talking top-notch coaching, you're talking about Power 5 talent in the game, good crowd, everything you want. And these two teams, they don't like each other. You can see the social media banter going back and forth, even coaches going at each other, saying, excuses one way or another why the game is kind of the result it is. But this one, the result is, because of Armwood turnovers. Can't throw 5 interceptions and expect to win a football game. I think any coach will tell you, turn over the ball that many times, you're going to lose. And Tampa Bay Tech secondary all over the place, led by Rakeem Stroud. And, you had a couple of those interceptions go back for 6. And Armwood did try to mount a comeback in the final minute. They scored a touchdown, tried the onside kick deal, didn't get it. And Tampa Bay Tech coming away with the narrow win on the road in Seffner. Tough place to win, and now they got to face Jones.
All right, let's move on to 4S Region 2. How about Lakeland taking care of Bartow 28-6, Andy?
Yeah, another rematch game from the regular season, and all the hype has been around Bartow and Coach Tyler Eden and how he's just really gotten the excitement around Bartow. And his saying all year, I believe, has been, lock the gates, because he's trying to keep all the hometown talent right there. And he's done a tremendous job, but Lakeland is still Lakeland until proven otherwise. We can't with a new
they
head
got to
coach.
be the favorite. They've got to be the favorite.
Yep. They won it last year, and Marvin Frazier, he's got a really good backfield there. He's got running backs for days, and Xander Smith at quarterback. You gotta respect the Dreadnoughts.
I'll tell you what, Baylin, how about Lake Mineola? I had no idea that they were going to handle Wiregrass Ranch the way they did, 42-28.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Luke Knight is playing out of his mind. He's the second leading passer in the entire state of Florida, Army commit. And Lake Mineola went in there and did what they had to do. And I know Wiregrass had to go on the road here, but I believe so, right? But I mean, Lake
Yeah.
Mineola is special, and you have really good coaching at all positions, legit coaching. And I mean, like I said before, as a quarterback, if you see that offensive line, they're probably winning a lot of trenches battles. And when you're doing that, you're going to give yourself a lot of chances to win games, especially in the playoffs. And this score is a little bit more lopsided than I thought it would be. I thought it would definitely maybe an overtime game or even Wiregrass on the other side of this with that score because of how elusive that offense is. But Lake Mineola has one of those top offensive play callers too, and he's a West Coast guy, comes over here and does a lot of great things in the last couple of years at Lake Mineola and developed some really good quarterbacks. And Jackson's playing out of his mind, Jackson Hughes, and then you got Jacob Connie out there, a receiver. He can do anything, really, athlete to put anywhere on the field. And now we're looking at a rematch. So this team has seen each other in the spring and also in the playoffs. So this is going to be an exciting one.
And Coach Walter Banks told me at the beginning of the season he was itching to get back to the state championship, and I think he may have a team to do that. We're going to talk about more of that later. How about 4S Region 3? Andy, Treasure Coast takes care of Vero Beach, 21-12, another rematch.
Yeah, and anytime you could beat a rival team like this twice in a season, and hey, it's triple option football over there with the Titans, and just being able to win this game again, I mean, very impressive. And yeah, I mean, this region final game against DeLand, that's I gotta say that's got to be either a top game or top 2 or 3. I mean, that is a solid matchup there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And Baylin, Orange City University has had a magical season. Coach Justin Roberts has done an amazing job, but DeLand takes care of them 31-13.
Yep. 2 times, same result, and I had some conversation with a couple Haggerty coaches, and they were believers in University OC. I don't know what they did to them to make them believe that they were going to beat DeLand, but there was no way they were beating DeLand. DeLand is rolling right now, and you never, Dan, you know this because you're a Apopka Blue Darter, bet against Darlington in the playoffs. I don't care who you are. So you can find, this would not surprise me, even though I do believe Treasure Coast is the better football team. It would not surprise me if DeLand finds himself in a Final Four to a state title.
We'll definitely talk about that here in a few minutes. Let's get into 4M Region 1. Lake Mary falls to Mandarin 36-10, Baylin.
Sad. This is the saddest thing I've seen because of the hype around this. Obviously, I don't want to sound biased, but again, the numbers are the numbers and the facts are the facts. Noah Grubbs was the best quarterback in this entire region and in this entire dang playoffs, and it was shut down by probably the best defensive backfield in the entire playoffs as well, other than maybe Chaminade and Central. But, Mandarin, they executed a game plan. It's hard to beat a good team twice. The first time they played each other, 5 turnovers and a running back that went over almost 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. You eliminate both of those, well, this is the results you get. Now, let's not get it twisted. It was 16-10 with 8 minutes left in the game. Lake Mary's on the 30 going in on 4th and 4 through a perfect strike to Henshaw. He drops it. 2 plays later, Mandarin scores, and then their first offensive possession, pick 6. So it was 29-10 within 30 seconds after they could have taken the lead 17-16 in the 4th. So great job by Mandarin. Lake Mary special season, historic season. I think Noah walks away with 4 all-time season records for school history. But this is the result. They lose by 26 points and have a lot of momentum because they're going to need it this week.
No doubt about it. And guys, I was at that Seminole Apopka game. Andy, Seminole played, in my opinion, the most complete game I've seen them play all season. They dominated all 3 phases. It was that typical Seminole Apopka feeling, right? But Seminole just had a little too much momentum. And I tell you, from the start, Seminole was on point. And congratulations to the Apopka Blue Darters. This is only the second time in 5 years they're not sitting in the state championship. So you got to say a lot about Coach Rolson and those Blue Darters. But Seminole's moving on to play Mandarin. We're going to talk about that here shortly. All right, 4M Region 3. Sumner takes care of Durant, Andy, 40-25.
Yeah, and that's behind the play of now 4-star athlete Greg Smith III, and his stock is rising, as is a Stingrays when you're talking about Class 4M. And yeah, as he goes, so does Sumner. I mean, beating Durant, I got to see them in the opening round against Palm Harbor University. Sound team, but you look at Sumner, just the dudes they got, and Smith just kind of powering and willing this team deeper into the postseason. This next game, I mean, or the matchup they're going to have with Plant, I mean, all-time classic last year in the opening round region quarterfinal. I can't wait for that.
Yeah, I tell you what, talking about Tampa Plant, they this was a wild game, man. Dr. Phillips, this was a close game from start to finish, Baylin, but Dr. Phillips does fall 28-21.
Yeah, this was heartbreaking. I wanted Dr. Phillips to win this game. I felt like they had the better talent to do so. I didn't think, just because Plant was a 2 seed, they were unbeatable. Dr. Phillips gave them all they can handle. And unfortunately, they came on the short end of the stick. But I do believe Dr. Phillips had a special season. The fact that we're talking about them in the second round and with a chance to be in the regional final, it speaks a lot about their coaching and where they went in their direction throughout the season. I feel like they had a winning season regardless of the outcome. But man, like Andy just said, this sets up for a historic matchup. These guys hate each other, and this is going to be a competitive deal here, and to get to a Final Four.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, I know, Andy, you've got to take off, and we've got an interview with the Seminole head coach Carl Calhoun after that Apopka victory. You're watching the Central Florida Scoreboard show, and we'll be back right after this with Baylin's predictions. We're going to take a look at the matchups this Friday night.
Right here with Seminole head coach Carl Calhoun. Coach, Apopka Seminole in the playoffs has been a battle for the last 8 years. A lot of heartbreak, a lot of joy, but tonight it's all joy. 42-14 over the Blue Darters.
That's a special team. Been in the state championship 3 out of the last 5 years, and they always give us so many problems. I'm just very, very happy how our guys came out and played. We knew they were physical. We know they're a team that never gives up, and I'm just proud of our guys for matching that intensity and bringing the intensity, not waiting to get punched in the mouth. And our group is special. We believe in this locker room, believe in these guys, believe in these coaches, and they showed it tonight. I think we're a force to be reckoned with. We're healthy, and I'm just very proud of us.
Coach, it seems like it's been a progression. We've talked about this before. Tonight, it looked like everybody was keyed in. Offense played very efficiently, had big plays. Defense was lights out. Special teams looked great. This was a tough week to prepare with the weather, practice, and now, a tough game environment. What was the message to the team this week to help them really focus in on what they needed to get done?
The message is finish and physicality. As you know, the last 2 years when I've been here, it's been close games with these guys, and we know that they never quit. So the reason this week was just finish it. We practiced hard. We ran extra sprints. We just want to make sure we prepared to play championship caliber teams, and we responded all week with physicality, conditioning. We just played a good day. So the whole week was keep going, and that's what we did.
Coach, all of Central Florida was really looking forward to a rematch with Seminole and Lake Mary here in the playoffs, but it looks like Mandarin's going to be down here in Sanford next Friday night. Mandarin's a very physical, very talented team. I know you've seen them in the past. What is your expectation for next week?
My expectation is they're going to come here and they're going to give us everything they got. They got great running backs, got a great quarterback, receivers, defense. They can man up a lot. We know we just want to come out here and play them hard. We've seen them last year, so we're a little familiar with what they like to do. But to have them on this field at home next week is going to be a plus for us. And we just know it'll be a battle next week for the region.
Big win. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, welcome back to the Central Florida High School Scoreboard Show. I'm Dan LaForest. That's Baylin Trujillo. Baylin, let's get right into. Here is the regional matchups across the state of Florida for 1S. North Florida Christian hosts St. John Paul in that 1S Region 1 championship.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. 1 versus 2 is always a great matchup for a regional championship. That's like the best 2 teams, and they're going to duke it out. But I believe the 1 seed is going to take the win here. North Florida Christian does beat St. John Paul to advance to the Final Four.
Yeah, I tell you, the number of athletes that have come out of North Florida Christians, including, a good friend of mine, Casey Weldon, they're always in the hunt, and they're no stranger to playoff time, and especially championship time. All right, let's talk about Region 2. Melbourne Central Catholic. Coach Nate Hooks has done a wonderful job with those guys this year. But Trinity Catholic, John Brantley's coming with his boys. This is a big game.
Massive game. Trinity Catholic, no one's even talking about this. They're 4-7, Dan. They are a 4-7 football team, and they blew out Holy Trinity last week. And then you got Melbourne Central Catholic, who's rolling right now. I think Day Farmer's back in the lineup. He's arguably one of the best receivers in the entire state of Florida, won a state title last year as Coco, so he knows what to expect in these matchups with a coach who was also on the coaching staff at Coco last year. So I like those chances. I do like the 1 seed here in our Central Florida team. Melbourne Central Catholic, our ranked team in the private school ranks, and I do believe they take care of Trinity Catholic, but don't be surprised if it's a weird upset here.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And we don't know enough about South Florida, so I really don't want to get into. But Victory Christian Academy will actually go to Cardinal Newman in that Region 3 championship, and also Moore Haven. And I know Andy had to leave, and I think we were hoping that Andy could give us a little bit more insight into it. But Moore Haven now travels to First Baptist Academy. So we're going to move on to 2S. And Pensacola Catholic is going to go to Tallahassee to take on FSU High. And FSU High, again, outstanding program, and they're no stranger to this regional championship.
Yeah, I think what we all want to see is a rematch from last year's state title game. And if we can possibly get that with Florida High playing against Coco in the regional to get to the final. So I think that's more exciting. I think Coco wants more of the challenge to prepare themselves to make state easy in a way. So I do believe the Florida State High will win this football game over Pensacola Catholic and have that rematch next week, Dan.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But I can tell you right now, Bradford's going to have a lot to say about that. And they're going to play Baker County at home this Friday night as well. But let's move right on to Region 3. South Sumner, guys, we've been hearing about them all season long. They're constantly reaching out to Baylin and I. Why don't you talk about us? Well, they're outside of our coverage area, right? It's not a statewide show. Maybe next year we'll see what happens. But South Sumner's going to come over and they're going to go to Coco.
Yeah, they're going to come over to Coco and they're going to get smacked by our top 10 team, officially our number 1 team, and they're going to see why they're not ranked. They might get blanketed. I don't see them scoring against Coco. I think Coco shuts them out, and I think they win another 35-0 win. I don't think it's going to be close, Dan. I know, the games in the past have been close, but not this year. This year's Coco team is a little different. I think the mindset's different. I think that just the overall camaraderie with the team is just a little different with again, 3 positions in the entire state of Florida, probably number 1 in each of those positions or number 2. At least they're up there in the top 5. I don't think we're talking anything about South Sumter. They are always in our DMs about getting ranked. If you were maybe an hour and 15 minutes closer, you might have that opportunity. You're still farther than Lake Manila, and that's about as stretch as we're going to go to. But at the end of the day, they have found themselves in this game every single year. They're always in the regional final or the Final Four. South Sumter just can't get past this one team, and that's called Coco, and they're going to do it again. So, great job.
I tell you what, I really like this matchup, Baylin. I think it's going to be, we're in the regionals now, man. I think this is really where we're going to start seeing some really competitive ball, and that even leads into the next matchup. Number 7, 7th-ranked Booker is playing at Bishop Verot, and that. You got to say a lot for there. I think, that's going to be very interesting to take a look at Friday night as well. All right, Class 3S. We talked about this. Choctawhatchee. They're going over to St. Augustine. They're going to travel across the state to take on those Yellow Jackets.
Dan, I'm going to call an upset here. I'm going to go with the 3 seed here. I think they beat St. Augustine. I think the way that they beat Lincoln, 38-7, if they continue that, Dan, it would be mind blowing to find themselves in a Final Four. But I'm going with it. I'm going to ride this underdog wave. We finally need to talk about an underdog, and I think this is one of them. So I think the 3 seed upsets the 1 seed. As crazy as that sounds, it sends St. Augustine home.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I love this 3S bracket, man. I'm telling you, St. Augustine, Mainland, Vanguard, Naples. Naples is lights out.
Yeah.
But let's go right into Region 2. 2 seed Lake Wales is traveling to Ocala to take on Vanguard. And Lake Wales, this is, I tell you, I'm excited to see this one.
Yeah, I am too. I am going with the upset here in the seeding wise. I do think Lake Wales take care of business. They had a scare last week against Leesburg, that's a whole different conversation. But man, what a year they're all having. And I believe Lake Wales is the better football team here. I do believe Vanguard is historically a powerhouse in the Ocala area. But when they finally see Central Florida teams and even some down south teams, they get popped right in the mouth like they did when they played South Sumter. They got popped right in the mouth. So I think this is what's going to happen here. I think their season ends Friday night to Lake Wales, and the 2 seed advances. Bryce is their quarterback, and he's a special quarterback too, and he's a transfer. The kid's legit.
Absolutely, and Ed Farmer and Vanguard, I tell you, they're big. And then Region 3, man, Andy touched on this. Sebring travels to Daytona, and I like this matchup.
I like it because Sebring's not supposed to be here. Sebring, I thought it was going to be Ugali or O'Galley, and No one even talks about the ending of that football game. That was when we talk about some serious stuff that happened between coaches and players and fights and penalties. I mean, Ugali just completely shot themselves in the foot. One player thought the game was over with still 6 minutes left in the game, stealing player towels, getting personal fouls, and then coaches are fighting players and hitting them, and it became an all-out mess. I know that was a whole Twitter war. Some of the stuff came out on video, and Ugali, I mean, at some point you can't lose your cool. Disciplined teams win games, and you had every right to still be in that game. It was only down 9. There's 6 minutes left. A lot can happen in football, as we've seen in the playoffs, even with Lake Mary Boone. I mean, you just never know, and you just shot yourself in the foot. It went from like 1st and goal to like 1st and 50 or 40, something crazy like that. And of course, they had no points on that drive. So you just got to be smarter, but that's beside the point. Sebring, obviously earned their right to be in this moment. I didn't think they were going to be here, but they are. But I do believe, again, as we've talked about, I will not waver from this. Mainland is the best team in 3S. Lake Wells might be right behind them, but I believe it's safe. It's Mainland's to lose this year, and I believe they walk away with this win comfortably. Not like last week against Rockledge. I think they get it together and they put a good performance to reach the Final Four.
No doubt about it. The Final Four is going to be absolutely outstanding when we get to talk about this next week. Dunbar is going to travel to Naples, and Naples is solid as well. How about 4S? And I know Baylin just popped off here, but Bartram Trail is going to head over to Buchholz. And Buchholz has had one heck of a season. I know that Josh Wilson from FloridaHighSchoolFootball.com has been out there the last couple of weeks, and everything seems to be going really, really strong for Buchholz. But Bartram Trail, they have had a lot going on. And, but Bartram Trail, Coach Corey Johns, it's first here at the helm. Bartram Trail is not going to go away.
Yeah, and they have their quarterback, Riley Trujillo. Again, I'm biased. He has my last name. A lot of people think we're related. We're not, but I do train him, and going to when he goes to UCF as well. He's a big piece of this puzzle. And, Buchholz, what a great year they're having too, Dan. I know you just touched on it, but I think Bartram Trail, they have a special season headed on. I think they advance.
Yeah, that's going to be a great matchup there. But how about Coach Banks and Lake Mineola Hawks going to Lakeland, man? That's a dangerous place to play.
Dangerous. They want this game, Dan. They played, I believe, in the spring game or kickoff classic. They knew they were going to match each other up. They lost to this team last year in I guess the regional. But this is going to be a special season for Lake Mineola. I just do believe it ends Friday night. I can't pick against Lakeland. They are who they are, and until you beat the guys, you're still not the guy. And I believe Lakeland are those guys, and I believe they're going to take care of business. But I would love nothing more to see an upset Friday night with Lake Mineola.
Oh, listen, I don't disagree. And I think at the end of the day, like I said, the Final Four, I think this is going to be a great discussion next week. How about DeLand? They are moving on. They're heading down the folks to play Treasure Coast. Now, here's the thing, right? 2 single wing offenses. I expect this game to be over about an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, you can't talk about a much more similar offensive game planning versus each other. They see this thing every day in practice. So, oh my goodness, it's going to be who makes the least mistakes in this football game. And I am not, Dan. You will never catch me on here go against Darlington in a regional final, a Final Four, or a state title. So I'm going with DeLand with the big upset here. Treasure Coast is the better football team. I am not going to shy away from that. But when you have the coach, the legend who has mastered this offense going against a team that has run this offense in years and have been successful and have beaten some pretty good teams. They're not beating Darlington. I got to go with TJ Moore. I got to go with Javon Moss. I got to go with Darlington. I can't do it. Dan. And I've seen it happen time and time again where they beat teams they're not supposed to, and they do it in convincing fashion. I believe DeLand is this their time.
No, and it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to. I wish I was going down there, but unfortunately, I'm not. But Riverview, Sarasota Riverview, has to go to Venice as well, and Venice is that favorite. John Peacock is always in discussion with his Venice Indians. All right, let's move on to Class 1M. OCP is going to Jacksonville, man. He's playing Trinity Christian. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, fun for who? Fun for Trinity? Yeah, you're right. OCP, love you guys. Love you, Cameron. You're awesome young man. You're great trainee. OCP, great year. But every year, as long as you stay in this region, this class, you will always have to run into these guys, and it ain't happening. I'm sorry. Trinity Christian beats OCP. I hope it's close, just to say something like, I don't want to take moral victories, but when you're playing against a team with loaded Division I talent that's able to recruit in the Jacksonville area with a quarterback that's out of his mind, who hasn't really shown his abilities yet because they've been winning on the ground. So I know he wants to throw the ball more. Once that starts happening, OCP is going to – if your biggest win is against Toho and Providence, you're in some serious trouble when you're playing Trinity Christian in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think, obviously Colin Hurley is probably one of the better quarterbacks in the nation, much less the state of Florida. The LSU commit is playing really well. But you have to give a lot of credit to what OCP has done this year.
100%.
And I think they're going to come at that with 100%. But Carrollwood Day, again, we don't have a lot of background really on these. We're hoping Andy could stay on. But Carrollwood Day, they travel on to Clearwater Central Catholic. We know what kind of program they are. And then let's go to Region 3. I love Cardinal Newman, but Shaman Madonna, listen, there are no doubt. Like, I want to see Shaman Madonna and Coco play. I really do. I mean, it really comes down to that, right?
Yep.
And then Region 4, Archbishop Carroll plays True Day Christian, the number 1 seed there as well. So we're starting to see the 1s and 2s kind of show up. And, don't forget, OCP. I want to go back to OCP. Coach Devin Thanos has done an amazing job, and they are a 2 seed. So they're right where they belong. Class 2M, I tell you what, this is the game I'm going to be at. Jacksonville Bulls is coming to Orlando to play Bishop Moore.
Yeah, Bishop Moore wins. I'm going with it. I'm not jumping off this train yet, Dan. I'm gonna say Bishop Moore will be in the Final Four.
And again, you start taking a look at how this is all coming around here for that 2M, Final Four next week. Bishop Moore, again, Bulls. I think this is going to be a great game. It's going to be very similar to what we saw last week. I love Bishop Moore's momentum right now.
Yep.
Calvary Christian in Region 2 travels to Berkeley Prep. Coach Dominic Chow.
Upset alert.
He's listen, I always know that it's always coming down to great coaching and great players, and that's where we are with those 2 programs. Region 3, Cardinal Gibbons. Coach Matthew DeBuck, man, he's got everything going into Plantation to play American Heritage as well.
This is the best region in all of, I would say. I mean, look at the teams here. You got Norland, you got Central, American Heritage, Cardinal Gibbons, Berkeley Prep, Calvary Christian, Bishop Moore. I'm sorry, even Bowles, who's the state champion. Bishop Moore, you're the little guys. Welcome to the show, because you're about to see exactly what it is. I'm still picking them to go to the Final Four, but regardless, they're not winning state. So
we really need blue right now. We really need blue to go through this because Miami Norland is on fire right now, and they're traveling
rematch with Central, and they beat Central.
So, I tell you what, I can't. Again, what we find out Friday or Saturday morning, right? Everything's going to be out on the table Saturday morning.
Midnight.
We're setting everything up for the next couple of weeks, being exciting. All right, Class 3M, Jones in Region 1 is going over to Tampa to take on Coach Jason Roberts and the Titans with Tampa Bay Tech.
Jones wins this football game. I don't believe any Tampa team really sees the talent that Central Florida sees week in and week out. I believe they're battle tested. I know that the Edgewater-Jones game was pretty much the team that was going to represent Central Florida in the state title game. If they don't have to run into, let's say, a St. Thomas in the Final Four, which they're going to reseed after all this, depending on some losses here. But Jones, I just believe, with Tampa Bay Tech struggling with Jesuit, Jones put that pretty much that conversation to rest in the kickoff classic. So when you talk about talent and matchup and skill and coaching, I just believe Jones is the way better team here. Tampa Bay Tech can never get past this round in this region. And they're not doing it Friday night. So I think Jones wins comfortably. I think this is the largest margin of victory between any of these schools here in this regional final. So I believe Jones wins by 14 plus, Dan.
Yeah, and I tell you, we move on to Region 2, and this is where the irony starts, right?
Yeah,
Bay?
This is the one. This is the game.
Tampa Gaither goes to Jesuit, and I'm just saying, if we end up seeing Jesuit and Jones play here, didn't we start the season with that?
Well, here's the thing, Dan. You wouldn't, because if Jesuit wins this game, which, mind you, they only beat Gaither by 1 point, 36-35 in the regular season. if Jesuit wins this game against Gaither, they will actually play Homestead in the Final Four if Homestead wins, and then Jones would have to play St. Thomas Aquinas. So the only way Jones does not see St. Thomas is if Jesuit loses this game, and then they'll play Homestead for the Final Four, which I know, if you want to be honest, Jones wants to see Homestead first so they at least give themselves a chance in the championship game. So there's going to be a lot riding on that region too, and that's the game I'm going to be staying closest probably this Friday night to watching because, like I said, they only beat them 36-35 in the regular season. That is crazy, Dan. So it can really go any way here.
Yeah, but the other end of that, Larry Bluestein has told me Coconut Creek is for real. Coconut Creek wants St. Thomas Aquinas in that region 3.
That's fine.
So
They can beat each other up.
I think that is the game we want to circle right here as the big matchup in 3M because the winner of that game is going to you're right, they could be beat up, but they're gonna be the talk of the class for sure. And then we've got Region 4.
Yeah, that's
number
the easiest
3
one.
seed.
I think
3.
Homestead walks through Miramar. Walks.
Yeah, number 3 Miramar heads over to play number 1 seed Homestead. All right, Class M regional. Mandarin heads to Bokie, takes on the Seminoles. Like I said, Baylin, I think Seminoles playing their best football right now.
Yeah, and there's no way possible Mandarin stops that run game. There's absolutely zero chance Mandarin can do anything if Seminole does what they do and play Seminole football, and that's go right at you. And if they do that, Mandarin will lose this game the same way they beat Lake Mary. They're going to get completely trounced, and I think Seminole wins comfortably like they did against Apopka. I think the only way to beat Mandarin is on the ground because all 5 DBs are going Power 5. They're going to run straight man and zero. You know, you're going to have – they're saying pretty much I dare you to run because if you pass, these things are going to get ugly. And that's what they do. They limited Lake Mary, and I believe Seminole has the better run game here with everybody healthy. They're literally running right through Mandarin.
Yeah. Move on to Region 2. Tampa Plant is going to play the Stingrays out of Sumner. And I tell you what, I got to see them at the Tampa Bay Buccaneer Media Day during the summer. And both teams, I mean, that's where things are getting really exciting now. I think that's going to be a tough game there. I like Sumner, but Plant's not going to play around there. They've fought hard this season. Obviously, again, we're starting to see some 1s and 2s. Region 3, Palm Beach Central, traveling number 2 seed. Heading to Monarch, the 1 seed, and then Region 4, Western. Again, Western and Columbus. I mean, this is going to be really, really cool to see because Miami, Columbus, and Western, you know, Larry said they saw Western last week and they were playing their hearts out. So that's going to be fun. We got a lot to talk about, but, you know, hey, listen, Baylin, it's Thanksgiving. We have a lot to be thankful for.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for you know, our friendship. I'm thankful for the coaches that we have such good relationships with. I'm thankful for the players that do so well. And I'm thankful for this opportunity to really give exposure to not only the game in Central Florida, but also to highlight the great performances and the dedication of the coaches, but also the performances and the dedication of the players.
Yeah, so much to be thankful for. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody watching and spending their time on their Wednesday or even Thursday watching our show and giving us support throughout the season. We didn't know where this was headed. Shout out to, thanks to Big Kicks Live for really motivating us to keep doing this on a platform like this. And then obviously thanks to my family, my mom, my wife, my son, my dad, all of our relatives.
Without our wives, we would not be doing this on Wednesday
and most importantly, thank you for Jesus Christ for what he did on the cross for all of us. So enjoy football this week, Friday night, guys. And, man, I just love doing this show, man. Thank you, Dan, for what you do also, man.
Yeah, man. Well, listen, it's a group effort, but I also want to thank Ronnie Bittman, the Influencer Council, for sponsoring the show. I also want to thank that, our relationship with the Orlando Sports Foundation, the Cure Bowl. We got a lot coming out here. I know we've been delayed getting out, the players for the Cure All-Star Games. There's a lot going on behind the scenes here to make sure that this is the biggest event in Central Florida. So there's a lot going on there. We're hoping to hopefully get some coaches interviews here in the next couple of weeks. There's a lot going on, man. And there's so many great storylines that we want to be able to bring. So for Baylin Trujillo, I'm Dan LaForest. You're watching the Central Florida High School Scoreboard Show, and we will see you next week.